Next up, item number 8.8, approval for the chair to sign a purchase and sale agreement, closing contracts, and any pertinent documents to purchase two parcels of property. Parcel number 32019-51-080001, 414 West Franklin Street for a sum of $875,000. This purchase will be from Real Estate Excise Tax 1 Fund, REIT 1. Would you mind leading this off, please?
Commissioners, this is a property purchase that the county is looking to execute regarding the expansion of District Court out of the Superior Court building into a new facility, which would be the parcel that's in question.
Is there any questions for staff on this presentation? Yes.
No. Frank, has this had any market exposure, or has this been a separate deal outside of an arm's length? Has it been on the market? Has the property been on the market in the MLS?
I have no idea.
I know, it has not.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. I don't know.
Since I was looking, at least since it's been emptied.
I just have a comment.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move into testimony. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead.
Thank you, and good evening, Commissioners. Tom Davis, I'm a resident of District 2. The reason I asked the question, a couple of things. I hate to see the expansion of the court system down into the business corridor of Shelton. I don't think that doesn't help generate any revenue. It's actually unproductive along those lines. You take 25,000 square foot of retail space and you pull it off the market, and then you don't even have any property taxes associated with that parcel. Is a step in the wrong direction. And I realize that the space constraints for the district court are tight, but with the larger picture, I don't think it does the city of Shelton any good. And I actually spoke to the city of Shelton, asked them for their position on that. They said their hands were tied. It's unfortunate that our growth industry is in the criminal justice system if this is what it's going to take out of our retail inventory. Probably what I believe is the largest retail space in the city of Shelton. What I was hoping for, of course, was that something like Trader Joe's or some anchor business would come in to revitalize the downtown. Not that government entity would come in and encroach upon closer into the business sector and take over this largest retail thing. It's clearly, economically speaking, a devastating decision. Having also realized that there are probably, from what I see, 3 to 4 properties, retail properties currently for sale downtown, storefronts right on Railroad or right off Railroad. That leads me to believe that there's not much of a market right at this time for retail space, even smaller retail space. If you recall the PUD building, which was not exactly retail space, but is 1 block south instead of 1 block north of Railroad, which this is, they were assessed at somewhere in the neighborhood of $600,000. They spent something like 5 years sitting on the market, lost $200,000 in maintenance fees and so on, and wound up selling the property again to a government entity, more or less, that'd be Timbo, for about half its assessed value. Since this has had no market exposure whatsoever, to come in and just slightly, what I consider slightly below assessed value, how would you possibly know that that's a good deal? Also, I could talk about the terms, whether the terms were actually, I think they're more beneficial to the seller than to the buyer. I would have loved to have seen this property have a chance to put it on the market. I would have loved to have seen the EDC call up Trader Joe's and a couple of other anchor institutions or retail corporations to give Shelton a chance. But this chance will go away, and chances are that they will never again be building something this size within the downtown area simply because there are no sites. I would have suggested I would have suggested that you have some single-story buildings here of wood structure that you could have capitalized on and maybe repurposed or reconditioned or restructured into larger two-story buildings. There wasn't a lot of conversation along these lines, and there was certainly no public outreach, so there was never any conversations to have suggestions from the public. This seemed to be a more or less certainly not an arm's length transaction. On the good side, I was very encouraged to see that you at least dropped one of the parcels. I would have suggested, had you not, that you purchase the second parcel, the $200,000 parcel on 3rd Street, and reconstruct that to additional space for the district court, simply because the price was lower. It's an older building, 1951. It's got 12,000 square feet. That's a lot of space. I mean, you're going from nothing here to 12,000 square feet, and it wouldn't have taken anything out of the retail inventory. So those are my comments. I assume you're going to go ahead with it anyway. I would hope next time we go down the pike that there's a little bit more public input. Thank you much.
Is there anybody else who would like to testify on this issue? Hearing none, we will close public testimony and we'll move to commissioner deliberation. Commissioners?
Sure, Mr. Chair. I appreciate Mr. Davis's comments tonight. I just have a couple of comments to make on this particular item. This has been deliberated at length for a number of years, not the particular purchase of that building, but the needs in the court. And I think we have an obligation that when we see needs like that, we have to take opportunities to address them because it's a public safety issue. If you work over in that court building that's nearly 100 years old, it's a public safety issue when you have jurors and you have staff and judicial officers commingling in hallways and with defendants and witnesses, and it does create quite an issue for our court staff and how they maintain and run their court. And so this is an opportunity to, I think, address those space issues and modernize our criminal justice system here in the county, and I just don't think that we could pass up that opportunity. I've had a couple of conversations with some folks over at the city. I understand and appreciate their frustration in a situation like this. I don't think it was a closely kept secret that that building would be vacant. There were a number of months where they had announced that they were going out of business. If the city was interested in partnering and finding a tenant for that building, I think they had ample time to do that. I would also say that the city civic center is in a former grocery store. Similar distance from Main Street, from Railroad. So this is not uncommon. This is just the county stepping up and addressing a critical need in the criminal justice system. And I absolutely will be supporting that we move forward with this agreement and move towards a purchase of that building. And I look forward to the day that we open up a criminal justice facility that meets the needs of Mason County. And they're having a kickoff there tonight for the Y, so we're gonna hopefully build a Y in the town too that's not at that location, but we're addressing some of those systemic issues for kids in the county as well that hopefully we won't need as big or as much court space as we do right now.
Comment or?
Yeah, I do. This property came at exactly the perfect time. The space needs, since I've taken office, have been discussed, and the requests have come from all offices in our criminal justice system for the space. This is the county seat, and therefore there'll be much need for county facilities within the county seat. And the answer to that, of having both space for county services and retail services is more development. And that's a function of expanding your urban growth boundaries. It's a function of expanding your infrastructure. All these things are happening. The county purchasing this and moving our criminal justice system there does not preclude more development in the city. And I don't think it's an all or nothing issue, such as the PUD building sitting there empty for so long. There was opportunity throughout this county or throughout this city for much retail So why is the retail not here? I don't think it's because the space isn't here. The services that have been coming to Mason County have been long needed. And it's a function of a county that's grown in population by at least 20,000 in the last 20 years. And you're going to need more county services. And so, you know, growth industry or not, that is what happens. That's what the county does, is service a growing population, and there is space requirements for that. I think one of the things that makes this purchase so essential is our need for even more jail space, and the cost of building a brand new building that has courtroom space and jail services is going to cost far more than taking this piece of property and revamping it for the courts, so that the jail, a new jail, would be a standalone structure. And I think this is a two-piece and two-part move, and I think it's essential that this be one of those parts within our county seat.
The purchase of this property, as you said, normally deliberated publicly. No, they're not. Purposely, it's not. Because when you hear the government entity is looking at a piece of property, others start getting involved to try to raise the price up. Arm's length transaction, yes, it is. It is absolutely an arm's length transaction. There's no relatives here. There's no connection to where we get it differently. They had it for sale. They just did not have it on the MLS. Others were looking at it. Others had talked to them about pricing. But it is definitely an arm's length transaction. There's no buddy-buddy deal. As a matter of fact, to guarantee that we will get it, we will only pay a certain amount. By law, it will be appraised. And so we're guaranteed that we're not going to pay more than its actual value. And there's no reason they just love us so much they just, throw away hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars either. I really doubt. As for Trader Joe's, would love it, but the problem is Trader Joe's ain't here. And they're not coming here. It's really easy to sit and say, I would like to see that there. The problem is it's up to them to come out here. It's up to them to invest the time, the money, and the effort to find out if the demographics work for them. Not for me to go and tell them I want them to move their shop here. I do that anyway, but that's not very effective. As for north, south, east, and west, and where to build and properties. Any business could do the same exact thing. There's one problem that we have with putting in properties north, south, east, and west. They're not for sale. This one is. So I'm very much in favor of this, but one of the main reasons why I'm in favor of this is, as you mentioned, we have that capacity issue that we've always had, as they're in tiny little rooms trying to function. But more than that, we already know from past, from looking into this issue of a criminal justice center, that we could be saving not just tens of millions, but more, perhaps even as much as 30 or 40 million by doing it this way. And I would be ashamed of us if we didn't take advantage of being able to save us that kind of money, because I don't think we'd ever get anything passed at a $100 million price tag anyway. I don't think we're capable of it. So with that, if somebody will make a motion, I also will be voting in favor of it.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of item 8.8, approval for the chair to sign a purchase and sale agreement, closing contracts, and any pertinent documents to purchase parcels of property, parcel number 32019-51-08001 at 414 West Franklin Street for $875,000. This purchase will be from the Real Estate Excise Tax 1 Fund, or REIT 1.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of the chair to sign a purchase and sale agreement, closing contracts, and any pertinent documents to purchase it should say one parcel of property, parcel number 32019-51-08001, which is known as 414 West Franklin Street, for the sum of $875,000. This purchase will be from the Real Estate Excise Tax 1 Fund, otherwise known as REIT 1. Any further discussion?
I would just like to thank the commission for their support of this and moving forward. I know how hard you've tried over the past several years to address this need, and finally we have an opportunity to do that. And so I'm grateful for the support of that. And as you mentioned, this is part of a criminal justice system-wide attempt to modernize our services and facilities, and really can't echo enough the savings that this will have long-term when we look at addressing the jail issue. And so just appreciate your support of this and look forward to how we move forward.
I agree.
Agreed. Anything further?
No.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries.